Democrats my whole life. They never did anything they promised. They would come to the black church and sing some Negro. I voted for Democrats my whole life. They never did anything they promised. They would come to the black church and sing some Negro spirituals with us and then disappear, peer. Once they got our vote. They never did anything they promised.
And then eat some fried chicken
I voted for
with
a
you.
Republican once in my life, and this dude done did everything he promised on steroids. He ain't even been in office 2 months, and everything I voted for, I'm getting. It's amazing. Do he sleep? Like this dude, if he sleeps, he wake up on a mission to do what Nakia voted for. He said, Nakia want me to fix that border? I'm on it. Nakia want to make sure them tax dollars is being spent for Americans more than anybody else? I'm on it. Like, this dude wakes up, I feel like, with me in mind. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he be thinking about me. It's like being at the casino. You put in that Democrat coin, you put it in and you pull the thing and you gonna win. You're gonna win. You put in another Democrat coin and you pull the thing and no, you didn't win. You put in that Republican coin.
Ding, ding, ding,
I put in a Republican coin for the first time. Pulled the ding. I freaking won.
Be leaders ourselves. Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for black people. They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform? She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that. Because she's a black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
All right, folks, as you can see, we are remote tonight. We didn't make it to the studio. It's a really rainy, stormy day. It's to last night's address, President Trump's address. So we were on here live streaming. I want to get your first response on this, just what you saw, Shelly, from last night.
Okay, I want to just be a little more transparent to our audience about why we're not in the studio. Translate.
Safety over, we definitely want to get on. And we were here last night, Nicole, we were here last night. What did you think of yesterday's address? The fallout, the reaction, just real quick.
The reaction was expected, but guess what? The left, the Democratic Party in particular, which is pretty much symbolic of the whole left, they are on a downfall spiral, whatever you want to call it. They are just this much from going over the cliff. Just this much, but these people are incorrigible. I am even more convinced, if I ever was, I'm even more so, that they are so they are the perfect example of what ideologues look like. They groupthink on steroids, and they are hurting for it, and they just don't even know why. They can't find their way out of a paper bag right now.
All right, yeah, Nicole, we were on here live last night, and we pretty much, just reacted to it all. But you saw more reaction today. Looks like most of the country are disgusted with the Democrats.
That's very true, and as well they should be. Dem shame is a real thing. Not everything is designed to be political theater. And like we said last night, there were moments where they refused to stand up, they refused to clap, would have just meant that they were good Americans. And people would have rallied behind them saying, well, okay, the partisan things, they didn't rock with us, but on the things that were good for the country or showing respect and honoring people who have lost their lives and their family members would have been a good thing. Instead, they sat on their hands, in some cases held up their little paddles that said things that they probably regret today. Definitely regret it. But they have not learned anything from November 5th. They have not learned one thing from that shellacking. And thank God, because midterms are coming. And last night gave us enough fodder to have all of the ammunition we need to smack them back down in the House of Representatives and get a bigger majority.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree there. And the nights, I mean, most people today are talking about DJ. So his actual name is Devarjay DJ Daniel. He is the young 13-year-old boy who President Trump honored. He's fighting cancer. I believe he's in remission right now, but he has, I think, 13 surgeries, was it?
Something like that.
Brain cancer, right. And President Trump honored him last night, and it was just, I mean, so many people that I spoke to today said they were in tears over the honoring of him. Before I show this clip, what did you think of that, Nicole?
You know, it was hard when we were watching it. It was just so emotional, that moment. My favorite moment is when he leaned over and gave Director Curran that hug. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just kind of wrapped himself around him. And here's this big, tough, top of the line law enforcement officer melting like a popsicle on a hot Saturday afternoon. He just kind of fell apart. And then in the corner, you see Kash Patel falling apart, and he's not even in on the hug. It was a beautiful American moment that Democrats missed. Mm-hmm. And people are holding them accountable for that. Whatever happened to Black Boy Joy? Here's a joyful Black boy, and you passed on it. But it was a moment that I think all of America rallied around, regardless of party, race, or all those other things we like to break ourselves into little pieces about.
I mean, right. Yeah. I agree. Shelley, what did you think about that?
Yes, I wasn't feeling well, but I had tears. I was laughing, smiling, had tears. And let me tell you something. All of you racists out there, I don't care what your skin color is, okay? If you cannot or will not, whatever one you want to, choose, check off, will not or cannot. If you cannot be happy or moved, sincerely moved by a child, again, regardless of skin color, a child having childhood cancer, all of these surgeries, and just being honored with being a Secret Service agent or whatever he was, CIA agent, just the joy in that. Every parent in his or her right mind, every parent has this natural instinct of love, protection. It just goes to children in general, right? And if you cannot, or you choose not to have that, something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. You can call it evil, you can call it demonic, twisted, whatever the word is, whichever adjective fits, something is very wrong with you.
Yeah, I want to play the snippet of how President Trump honored him, because we have more information today. So I want to just play the snippet. We have it here. Producer, can you put this up? Just the snippet here. Take a look. This is when President Trump honored him last night, DJ.
Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, that's nice. Oh,
awesome. That little beetle.
Did you see his face when he said that? His eyes got big and he was
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah. Oh.
And look, I heard today
He's
on
gonna be
some
on the
news
case when he
channel,
get home. He's gonna be investigating all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
someone was saying today, I don't know where it was. I think it was Rich Lowry. Yeah, I think it was Rich Lowry today, or maybe last night. But anyway, Rich Lowry, I think it was, said that what they didn't show was after that announcement, DJ went over to, I forget whomever, one of the Secret Service, and asked what were his responsibilities.
Oh.
Like
That
you know,
just
like
takes away my heart.
oh my gosh, that was so. Like, what was his responsibilities going to be? What was he going to have to, do? It's like, oh, look, you got many adults who work and don't want their responsibilities accounted for. This is a 13-year-old boy with an honorary membership, an honorary, notice, and he's asking, what are my responsibilities? And he has this innocence about him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was a beautiful moment.
He's serious about it too, and he's serious. President Trump became aware of Devarjay DJ Daniel through the young boy's inspiring journey of being sworn into numerous law enforcement agencies across the country. So, according to the New York Post, DJ's story gained significant national attention, particularly after a video of him being bullied at a gas station went viral in June 2024. So recognizing, again, this is according to the Houston Chronicle, recognizing DJ's resilience and dedication, the White House then extended an invitation to him and his family, leading to DJ's recognition during the last night's address. And of course, his subsequent honorary induction into the U.S. Secret Service. So we're talking about President Trump became aware of him because he was being bullied. And then last night, you had the Democrats sit there scowling, refusing to stand, refusing to clap, just nasty. So it's almost sort of like, they're kind of doing the same thing that people did to him before, sort of. But this is the video that President Trump saw of him being bullied. This is clip 6.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media.
Amplify our voices here on YouTube. We want to get people like Don Lemon and Joy Reid and all these leftists off here and get our voices amplified. So please hit that like button. We have Jay Hunter Lee with the $5 super chat, says Dems behaving like this to entertain Black victim Olympians. Yeah. And Nicole, you brought up a good point. Where is the NAACP? Where is Jamal Bryant? You had here Nicole Wallace on MSNBC really sort of try to put suicide on this boy. And then the way she connected it, the suicide didn't have anything to do with President Trump.
Anything.
No, she was talking about January 6th, trying to make and it didn't. But again, to your point, this is groupthink. They have a hierarchy. It does color. People think, racism, they harp on racism and skin color. But don't get me wrong, but racism is right below the hierarchy, the ideology and the groupthink. If the racism, or if anything, if you're going to trump with the groupthink, with skin color, that's not going to be the issue. Their mindset, we're going to stick to the group, the ideology, whatever the group says, and that's what we're going to do and be and say, regardless. Jamal Bryant's and the Al Sharptons and NAACP, they're all there with them. Why? Because President Trump is their foil, if you will, and they can't do anything about it. They are evil, sick, again, demonic, whatever adjective you want to use, but these people are ultimately for the downfall of our country.
Yeah, Laura with the $5 super chat says, my older brother is slow like a Forrest Gump, and he got bullied all of his life. Sad to say, I got into a ton of fights trying to protect him. Good for you.
I know that's right.
Forrest Gump wasn't that slow, Laura, so he's probably a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Sure.
Yes, he is. For Chadwick with the $10 super chat, thank you so much. Says, mind-boggling to me, the Democrat Party is the party of men being women, open borders, not supporting a child with cancer that wants to be a police officer, and killing babies. Absolutely. What the WTF moment. Yeah, you're right. Virginia with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Says, I'm with all three of you. How could them sit on their hands and not applaud those suffering young people? Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Absolutely. Thank you, Virginia, for watching in your super chat. Tracy Merriweather, thank you so much. $10 super chat. K-Town with the $4 super chat. Thank you so much. Brown Eyes with the $5 super chat says, these are the people who represent us. I am so scared and disappointed. I have children and a grandchild. We just have to continue. We're forming communities like this. You know, we have almost over 1,000 people on here right now tonight. We have to stick together and continue to support one another. Jay Storms with the $5 super chat says, Democrats lead on empathy but won't support paraplegic children nor support the deceased children being remembered, all because Trump supports them. Absolutely. And just to go back to what Brown Eye said, you know, I've said this on here before. Community is no longer based on your surroundings, location. You know, community now in this day and age is people who have the same values, like minds. We value the same things. And, you know, it doesn't have to be people right here in Baltimore. Community is right here on this broadcast. We are a community, and we need to continue to lift one another up, no matter where we are. And that's one thing about online that I do like. You know, we can always connect online here with people of shared values. So that's a good thing there. So let me see here. So we're talking about, you know, the pushback against DJ, and I want to bring this to you. I mean, you know, I hate to say this, and you guys correct me, but I'm about sick of black people. I'm about sick of them. Black folk are really getting on my nerves. And I won't say a blanket statement, but I am talking about black Democrats. I am finding that black Democrats are some of the most ignorant, nasty people I have ever been around. And this brings me to Jasmine Crockett. Take a look at this disgusting wench. This is clip number 2.
This is not what we should be doing. I don't even know why we fight with Greenland. Why we fighting with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yet we in love with Putin. What is happening? Like, this is not America. This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the fuck up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
She's so ignorant. Nicole, she's so ignorant.
Gotta use profanity.
What do you think about that?
She's pandering. She's definitely pandering for the camera. You know, we talked about this last month, and I said, yeah, they're dusting her off, you know, trying to clean her up a little bit to try to put her a little bit more in the spotlight, because, again, the Democrats are looking for that lightning rod person. It can't be AOC. They've tried it. That's failed. It won't be Jasmine Crockett, because if it had been her, she would have given the response lesson, right? But she's got a penchant for the F-bombs, and she's still a little too much with this. When she's speaking, she's got a bit to go.
But why are they creating this persona? Now, I have been told that she's actually not that way in real life. Right. I've been told I think it was you, Nicole, or someone said that she's actually much more demure. Was it demure? You know, she's not as you know, ratchet and stuff. So she's creating this persona that we see, like the rap girls and the rap video vixens and things. For what?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I have a theory that I'm starting to kind of develop a little bit, and this is the only part of it. I think I don't know if she's like that like that in her quote unquote real life or not. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. But the fact that she is pretty much the spokesperson for the Democratic Party tells me to some degree this is what they think of black women. This is what they think black women are supposed to be, do, say, and represent. So this is their caricature, if you will. Black people, you know, again, historically, historically, and again, this is during slavery times, if you will, Jim Crow, we wanted to be used as minstrels. Well, this is the modern day minstrel, right? Of how the Democratic Party sees black women. The other half of the theory I'm trying to develop, if you will, again, I don't have all the parts with you, but for the conservative black women, in a large way, or in some ways, we are trying to fight against that, but at the same time, we necessarily don't know how the other side, mostly white people, think about us. So it's like we're in this odd space. They're putting forth caricatures, and on the other side, we're trying to figure, okay, well, do I need to act like this, or do I need to act opposite of that? It's a whole lot of parts, if you will, or a number of parts. Again, this is my basic theory, but she's a caricature. This is what the Democratic Party, the left, the progressives, this is their view of what a real black woman is or does and how she acts. They're trying, again, fighting against, white people think black people should be like this. We have to put up a different persona. And this is the real me keeping my black card. It's a lot of psychological, historical parts to it. That's what I think. I may be wrong, but this is my never to be humble opinion.
No. Well, listen, I agree with your never to be humble opinion, because let's think back to what they did with Kamala, right? This is someone who went from being a mild-mannered, ne'er-do-well, barely work person, and then suddenly she's washing collard greens in the tub, and she's cackling, and she's walking like a black woman, and it doesn't quite come together the way that how we walk, right? All of these things, they tried to quote unquote black her up, because running a Hindu woman for president just wasn't going to do it. And it's a shame that they still see us as caricatures instead of whole people. I've been in politics for a minute, and one thing I can tell you is I have absolutely resisted anyone who wanted me to change anything about myself. I am who I am. Some people absolutely adore me, and there's a couple of 5, 10, maybe 35 people who are on the "we hate Nicole Bennett" train, but I wish them all well. I hope the ride straight to hell is a fun one. Have some of that. But that's a whole nother story, y'all. But what I'm going to say is, as conservative women, stand your ground. Surround yourself with a community of other conservative women. I belong to a lot of groups and organizations. One I love probably dearly, more than any other, is the Black Conservative Federation. And it's not just because we're black, it's because we're conservative. And we can run ideas, and when we're wrong, we correct each other. Why would you do that? That's a dumb thing to do. And we help each other when they come after us. You have to build a community so you can stay true to your authentic self. You can't sell your soul, like Miss Crockett, for likes and potential chances to run for a higher seat.
Yeah,
because that's
absolutely.
what's going on.
Absolutely. And folks, and I feel comfortable, saying this. We're all family here. We can cut up, behind the scenes, or with your friends. You're at home and you want to cut up and things. But when you are a congresswoman or a congressman representing, your district, and in professional settings, all this and all this stuff, it's too much. Yesterday before the President Trump's address. Now, I don't know how old this woman is, but she certainly is too old to be out here dancing to Kendrick Lamar's song and getting on here, and all this type of stuff, and talking about don't watch the address and all this. I mean, she looked like a fool. But again, they continue to push this persona. And and then sometimes I ask, and I agree with both of you ladies, sometimes I ask, is it sort of like the chicken or the egg come first? Is she portraying us, or a segment of the black community? Or is it the other way? Is it because she's putting on this persona that more in the black community now, use her as an example and are becoming to act and look like her? Which one?
I think she's I think it's the first thing you said, more so than the latter. However, the latter is a consequence. There's going to be this reciprocal effect of a segment, if you will, in the Black community that are going to say, oh, Jasmine Crockett does it, so I'm going to do it. Just like those young girls you saw messing with DJ, bullying DJ. Mm-hmm. So those are the people who are by and large going to maybe gravitate towards her. But by and large, I believe that people like Jasmine Crockett, they are portraying what they think or what the party tells them to portray for Black women. This is what I think they're doing. And they don't realize that if across my social media today, the things that I saw many Black people, male, female, younger, older, saying that they really are sick of the Democratic Party. It's not the party that it once was. This is something totally different. And they are so thrilled that President Trump is in office. So the people that they think that they are gaining or trying to keep, it's not working. It's not working.
Absolutely. I want to acknowledge our super chatters. Folks, thank you all so much. We have a lot to get to tonight. So we're speaking of some of the breakout people in the Republican Party. We got to get to Byron Donalds destroying these mayors.
Let's go, Chief.
So let me just see here. So Jay Storms with the $5 super chat says Democrats lead on empathy, but won't support. Oh, we read this one. Won't support paraplegic children. All right. Lavelle says seeing Black women speak this way gives me hope. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Brown Eyes says Papa Politics and the chat are my new family now. This is a loving, God-filled community. Thank you, Brown Eyes, for the $5 super chat. Rico says Crockett is playing her role as the attack dog. Good point. Deborah with a $2 super chat. Thank you. Rico says KJ, I'm getting sick of them ignorant folks too. right on, Rico. Laura with a $5 super chat says you ladies and Poppin' Politics are loved and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah with the $5 super chat says I'm personally grateful the Dems don't know how to act. If they rolled over and played possum, we might not be able to keep them out of office. This is what you said, Nicole.
Strategy.
Yes, indeed. All right. So let me see here. All right. So before we move on from DJ, I want to show you guys this clip of him today. He went to visit President Trump in the White House. And so I wanted you guys to take a look. This is clip 7.
We should note, again, you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question.
Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support made.
Okay, good. That's very nice. Look at that family you got, huh? Very nice. How are you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. It was a big evening last night, right? Yes, it was. That was a big evening.
Oh, that was
That's
nice.
cute. That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
I don't care what people say. I mean, I know people have different opinions about as far as politics and ideology with President Trump. But he's a nice guy. He's like an everyday guy to me. A man who has seen money come and go and has been around all types of celebrities, international people, all over the world. And he's still just a regular guy.
He's real.
Right.
He's incredibly charming too. And he has grandkids, so he's kid friendly. Mm-hmm. But you have to understand, being invited to the White House is an honor, because there are many Americans who, they see it on TV, they may come and visit, the public side, but being on the west side, the west wing of the White House is a big thing. It's a big thing. And in the Oval Office, it's just tremendous. for this kid, this is going to be a lifetime memory, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer kid. It could not have happened to a nicer kid or family.
Right. Yeah, I certainly agree. And so, speaking of that, I want to change gears a little bit, and I want to go back to this address and talk about the Democrats. The one time they did clap. And this is a clip here of Elizabeth Warren clapping about continuing to fund Ukraine for 5 years or more. This is clip 3. Take a look.
With no end in sight, the United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense. With no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. "2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that."
What? So, folks, let's just make sure we understand what's going on here. They didn't clap for DJ, a cancer, a child who had cancer is in remission. They didn't clap for President Trump honoring the ladies the moms or the parents who lost their children to illegals. They didn't clap for the lady who was there who had been brain damage due to a trans girl playing in volleyball. But they clapped for giving away our money, our hard-earned tax-paying money to Ukraine. Shirley, what is going on?
No, they are twisted. You got it. Again, and part of it is that they clapped for that because they knew he was against it, right? So again, just because it's Trump saying it and he's saying facts, they're going to clap against it. The Pocahontas thing, I think Elizabeth Warren, she was a little, I think, embarrassed, taken aback. And of course, we know President Trump. I'm just saying he has these jabs to people, whatever. But these people want nothing good for America. Everything they want is going to hurt, damage, or destroy America. And that is what gets their little fancies going.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting? Just last weekend, remember we talked about this on another show earlier in the week. Just last weekend, the so-called moderate Democrats, we call them blue dogs, had a big retreat. Rahm Emanuel was there, Mark Bennett was there, like all of the big wigs were there. And what was born out of that meeting was that they have to stop doing this foolishness like they pulled last night. They were supposed to embrace patriotism, right? Go out and buy some flags, put a flag pin on your lapel. No more mention of men in ladies' sports, men in the bathroom with ladies. No mention of that. They were supposed to turn their back on elitism and actually act like, quote unquote, regular people. Well, on behalf of the regular people, y'all failed miserably last night. Elizabeth Warren, I know she had to be embarrassed. I could not imagine what that felt like to be called out by the President of the United States in front of the entire world, but she deserved it.
Yeah,
she absolutely deserved it. You know,
and I don't think, as you have said many times, I don't think they are capable of toning down this rhetoric. I don't think they're capable because this is who they are. Mm-hmm. They believe the Democrat Party, and it's time for us all to understand this. They believe that they have a right to our money. They believe they have a right to our children. And they believe that with this saying all this, they believe they should be able to do what they want to do with our money to push their twisted agenda here in the United States and abroad. This is what they want to do. Yeah,
exactly. Put it simply, they believe that we don't have rights. We are subjects of the state, or to them, to their party in the country. We're subject. We don't have we're not we the people.
Recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of the mayors here today are actively working to harm the American people you represent. You all have blood on your hands. I'm going to ask a series of yes or no questions today, and I would like to remind all of you, you are under oath. I only want a yes or no to my questions. My first question, do you acknowledge breaking into our country is a crime? Mayor Adams, yes or no? Do you acknowledge breaking into our country is a crime?
I acknowledge.
Yes or no?
I acknowledge.
Okay, Honorable Johnson, he's not going to answer the question. Yes or no? Is breaking into our country against the law? Yes or no?
Depends how you cross the border.
Okay, Mayor Johnson, yes or no?
Comprehensive immigration reform policies are what's necessary in this
Mayor Wu,
moment.
do you have a better answer than these gentlemen before you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, do you believe it's acceptable for illegals who commit heinous crimes be released back into the public instead of being detained and deported? Mayor Adams, yes or no?
Anyone break a crime?
Yes or no? This is not hard. Yes or no?
Anyone that break a crime should be detained.
Okay, Mayor, yes or no?
They should be deported.
Okay, Mayor.
Any individual that
Yes or no?
causes harm
Yes or
and
no?
breaks
Okay,
the law
Mayor Wu?
should be held accountable.
This is why you have 6% approval rating, because you suck at answering questions. Mayor Wu? Yes or no?
Anyone who's a public safety threat should be prosecuted.
All right, I have my next question. When an illegal alien rapes a woman, do you believe you're on the right side of history? Mayor Adams, yes or no?
Say that question again.
Okay, Mayor Johnston. When a legal alien rapes a woman, do you believe you're on the right side of history? Yes or no?
I will charge and prosecute them.
Yes or no? Okay, well, okay. You said you would go to jail, didn't you?
I will
For
charge
harboring
and
illegal
prosecute
aliens or something, Mayor Johnson?
Could you repeat your question, please?
When an illegal alien rapes a woman, do you believe you're on the right side of history?
Could you clarify that question?
Okay, Mayor Wu, yes or no?
No, rape is obviously
Then
horrible.
why are you letting rapists back out onto the streets of Boston?
That is not true. That is
Okay.
not what's happening in
When
Boston.
an illegal alien molests a kid, molests an underage kid, do you pat yourself on the back for being compassionate? Mayor Adams?
It's despicable and he should be arrested.
Mayor Johnston?
I prosecute folks that commit crimes like that.
You guys let him out on the streets. Mayor Johnson?
We arrest violent criminals in the city of Chicago.
Mayor Wu?
We investigate, arrest, and prosecute.
You guys don't sound very confident today. Would your city honor it? Adams? Yes or no?
In conformance with law, we will honor detainers.
Mayor Johnson?
If there's a criminal warrant, we'll help them pick them up. If there's no criminal warrant, we'll honor a notification request.
Mayor Johnson?
Criminal warrants, we always cooperate with federal agents with a criminal warrant.
Mayor Wu?
Get a criminal warrant, we will enforce.
A criminal warrant. I'm talking about an ICE detainer on an individual who's here illegal who rapes kids. Do you all hate Donald Trump more than you love your country? Mayor Adams?
I respect my president. I respect my
Yes
country,
or no?
and I
You're having the
respect
hardest time
my
today.
Senate.
Mayor Johnston?
I love my country.
Yes or no?
I love my country.
Mayor Johnson?
As the son of a pastor, I love everyone and this country.
Mayor Will?
I love my country and my city.
That's a no.
Do you all, are you all willing to go to jail for violating federal law? Mayor Adams?
I'm not going to violate federal law, so I don't have to worry about that.
Mayor Johnston?
We don't violate federal law either.
You don't violate federal law.
We do not violate federal
Is it
law.
violating federal law if you don't honor detainer requests from ICE?
Absolutely not. In fact, the statute Congressman Biggs shared, we explicitly follow. The statute says you cannot prohibit city employees from sharing information about someone's status with the government. We do not prohibit that.
Do you love illegal aliens more than you love your fellow countrymen?
I love all the residents of the city and county.
Mayor Johnston, are you willing to go to jail for violating federal law?
The city of Chicago complies with all laws.
Oh, I highly doubt that. Mayor Wu?
We are not violating federal law.
Mayor Wu, I have a last couple questions for you. Do you believe that ICE arresting a child rapist, quote, threatens everyone's safety, end quote? Yes or no?
No.
Does ICE arresting a murderous MS-13 gang member threaten everyone's safety? Yes or no?
No.
I would like to hold up this quote of you where you say ICE's efforts actually threaten the safety of everyone, end quote, Boston Mayor Michelle Whoa, you're a hypocrite. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Chair recognizes
Mr. Chairman, I have unanimous consent
Subramaniam.
request. Mr. Chairman, I have unanimous consent.
Proceed.
I'd like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record this article, and I'll do this as a survivor of sexual violence myself. This is from Courts, March 2018.
Without objection, so ordered.
Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born...
Without objection, so ordered. We've put it in the record.
I have an internet.
You have what?
Mr. Chair, can I have several articles. I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans commit more rape and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee.
You can go. You can go with Mr.
Record.
Frost and Mr. Green.
I'm reclaiming my time.
That's what you want. No. Ms. Presley, I have been very accommodating to you. Mr. Subramaniam, start the clock.
Umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will enter into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No. It is Mr. Subramaniam.
Mr. Chair.
No, you know the process of unanimous consent. You are not recognized.
I have several articles to enter into the record.
Mr. Subramaniam, if you don't go, we're going to recognize Mr. Timmons. Chair recognizes Mr. Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. This is my third term on the Oversight Committee. We've been talking about illegal immigration and oversight the entire time. I remember we had a group of this committee that went down to the El Paso section of the border. This was back in February, March of 2021. And during that time period, we were at one of the holding centers, and there were these buses that were coming to the detention facility, and they were picking up 30 kids, 50 kids. At random, walking out of the facility. And when I went over to question the bus driver that was transporting these kids, border agents told me, as a member of Congress, that you're not allowed to question the bus driver. And of course, people knowing me, I didn't take no for an answer, and I repeated the question. And I was told that this bus of children was leaving El Paso and going to San Diego. And so what was occurring under the Biden administration is that they were busing unaccompanied minors all across the United States for one reason and one reason only. And that was because they did not want the press to see the pictures of kids in cages. They did not want to see our borders being overrun. They wanted to disperse that problem all through the United States. That is the reckless history of illegal immigration under Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. Mayor Johnston of Denver, you lamented earlier that there were 10 to 11 buses coming per day to your city. Did you ever talk to Joe Biden about why this was happening to your community?
Thank you, Congressman. I both reached out to Governor Abbott from Texas. He didn't respond, and I did.
Why would you reach out to Governor Abbott of Texas when it is Joe Biden, the former commander-in-chief, that opened up our borders? Why didn't you talk to him?
Well, our buses directly were being sent from Governor Abbott in Texas, so that was why we reached out to say we're happy to collaborate on a coordinated entry system. We understand no one state or no one city should bear the entire brunt of this, but let's collaborate. But I did.
So I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to my next point. Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis, when they started moving illegal aliens out of their states who were bearing the brunt of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing, and they've sent them to Denver, they sent them to Chicago, they sent them to New York, they sent them to Martha's Vineyard. The reason why they did that is because you four could hide behind the realities of illegal immigration on border towns all through our country and on cities and states who did not want to see illegal immigration, but did not have the political representation to go to the White House. And only when it showed up on your doorstep did you get upset. Mayor Johnston, coming back to you, how much did your city spend on illegal immigration? Do you have a round number?
Over the last couple of years on all newcomers, whatever their status was, it's around $79 million since 2022.
$79 million. Mayor Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because we don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone.
You're the mayor. You don't have the math in front of you.
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
That's why you're a failing
which
mayor.
is
Mayor
the same
Adams,
number that
how
was
much did the
sent
city
from
of
us
New
from
York
the
actually
state
spend
of
on
Texas.
illegal immigration? Mayor Johnson, I already asked you. You don't have a hard number, and if you don't have a hard number, you're not running your city well. Mayor Adams, how much did the city of New York actually spend on illegal immigration?
6.9 billion of taxpayers.
$6.9 billion of taxpayer money on a problem that was fostered on the American people. Mayor Wu, in the city of Boston, how much did you spend?
We don't ask about immigration status and delivering city
You don't
services,
ask
so
about
we
how
don't
much
have
money
that
the city
number.
of Boston has spent on illegal immigration.
We
Are
don't
you out of your
distinguish
mind?
between immigration status.
Do you
as
manage
part
your
of our
budget
city
or
policies.
not, Mayor Wu?
That is how we keep
Mayor
our city
Wu,
safe.
do you manage your budget or
We have the
not?
numbers to prove it. I manage my budget. I have a AAA bond rating dating back 10 years.
So to the city
Boston
of Boston,
budget.
just understand that your mayor does not care how much of your resources she has spent on people who are not citizens
The city of
the city
Boston
of
is
Boston.
sick of having
I'm reclaiming
people
my
outside
time.
Boston
Mr.
telling
Bear,
us what
Mr.
we
Bear, I have
need.
a question for you because I understand Cato's perspective when it comes to illegal immigration. I understand that the Cato Institute for a long time has had a standard of actually having open immigration into the United States. Generally speaking, I don't want to get into specific.
We support legal immigration. We want immigration to be legal.
Let me ask you this question, because one of the great libertarians of the modern era, Milton Friedman, famously said, you can either have open borders or a welfare state, but you have to choose. Mr. Beer, what do you choose?
Milton Friedman said he wanted to allow illegal immigration to continue. I disagree with Milton Friedman's position on that. We should have legal immigration and build a wall around the welfare state, not around the country. That's in the best interest of taxpayers.
And I would argue that under the current system where you have sanctuary cities popping up, it is not possible to build that wall. So America has to choose. Mr. Beer, you're done. America has to choose between securing our nation or protecting the taxpayer. I choose secure the nation. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing on such an important topic. Mayor Johnson, I want to start with you. One of your first actions as mayor was establishing a deputy mayor for immigrant, migrant, and refugee rights. I want to ask you a series of questions. If you could answer with a yes or no answer, that'd be great. First of all, do you support allowing illegal aliens to obtain driver's licenses? Just yes or no?
So the city of Chicago has been a welcoming city for over 40 years.
I'll take that as a yes. Next question.
And that's the policy that we will hold to.
Do you support tax dollars subsidizing or paying for the health care of illegal aliens?
I support investments in all residents of the people of Chicago, and that's what I do.
That's a yes as well. Do you support free or reduced college for illegal aliens?
Again, I support the investments of all residents of the people of Chicago.
That is a yes. Next question. Do you support allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections?
Again, I'm not over the jurisdiction of that type of law, but again, I'm committed to investing in all residents of the people of Chicago.
I'll take that as a yes. I've got an article from the Chicago Sun-Times, and I'll quote here briefly. Johnson proposed, among other things, that all residents, regardless of citizenship status, be able to vote for Chicago Board of Education members. Next question. Your website states, and this is your campaign website, quote, I will not stop fighting until abortion access is completely secure for people all over the country, end quote. Yes or no, do you support taxpayer-funded abortions for illegal aliens?
I support the reproductive rights of all people, all women.
That is a yes as well. Your mayoral transition website mentioned support for creating a Chicago Board of Education non-citizen advisory board. Again, yes or no, do you support appointing non-citizens to government advisory boards?
I was invited here today to discuss welcoming cities.
Yes or no?
I was invited here to discuss welcoming cities.
This is a yes or no
If you're
question.
interested in asking me
You're not
questions
gonna
about the
filibuster.
welcoming
I'll
city,
take that as a
I'm
yes.
happy to
We're gonna
answer
move
those
on.
questions.
No, we're going to move on. As you know, President Trump, unlike the previous administration, has taken serious action to bring foreign criminal gangs to justice, to take our border back and to restore public safety in our communities. He designated 8 transnational criminal organizations and cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. These are groups like Tren de Aragua, MS-13, Sonola, other of some of the most grotesque and ruthless and brutal organizations in the world. You as mayor of a sanctuary city have been virtually giving favors to illegal aliens. Apparently you support an enormous amount of taxpayer resources going to them as well, but you yourself have also received a lot of gifts. And for those of you who don't know, Mayor Johnson has a secret gift room that is not given access to the public or for access to the Office of Inspector General. I'd like to ask you a couple questions about that. Do you know everyone who's given you a gift since you became mayor?
The city of Chicago has had a policy for 40 years
yes or no question.
where there are individuals that would like to give gifts to
I'm
the city of
reclaiming my
Chicago,
time. I'm going to take that.
and we do not accept those
when
gifts.
Did you
we
become
receive
mayor?
them on
No, I'm going
behalf
to reclaim my
of
time
the city
here.
of Chicago.
You're not going to filibuster here. When did you become mayor?
I was elected mayor of the city of Chicago in April of 2023, and I was sworn in May 15th
on June
of 2023.
On June 12th, 2023, you received Hugo Boss cufflinks and a personalized Mont Blanc pin. Do you know who gave you those?
So I did not receive those personally. The city of Chicago
You received those
them.
on behalf
and
of
that's
the city
right,
of
on
Chicago.
behalf of the city of Chicago, as
I
every
understand
mayor
the difference.
in the
Do you know
history of
who-
Chicago who has
Do you know who gave
provided
those
gifts
to the city of Chicago? Do you know who gave those to the city of Chicago?
So again, on behalf of the city of Chicago, there
It's
are
a yes
gifts
or no
that are
question.
received, but I do not accept. Those are not my personal gifts.
You don't know.
Those are the gifts of the city of
on March
Chicago,
18th,
and that's why you are aware that they exist, because they're within the law.
Time here, sir. On March 18th, 2024, you received a Gucci tote bag. Do you know who gave you that? Gave the city of Chicago that?
Again, I was here and I was invited.
I'll also
to
take
respond
that as
to
no.
the
On March
questions
19th,
around
2024,
welcoming
the
city. I'm
of
happy to answer
Chicago
any of those
received
questions.
A Vinci bag, a Kate Spade purse, and Carucci shoes. Do you know who gave the city of Chicago those?
Again, I was brought.
I'll take that as a no. I'm reclaiming my time
to respond.
here, sir. I am reclaiming my time.
Chicago.
This
what a welcoming
raises
city
serious
ordinance
ethical concerns. You are providing an enormous amount of aid to illegal aliens, aiding and abetting criminals who have come into our country illegally. And you yourself are receiving an enormous amount of gifts, and you won't even tell us who they're coming
Mr.
from. That
Chairman,
raises
time is up.
serious ethical
We have
concern.
a 5-minute rule.
Gentlemen, time's
Chairman, I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record the City of Chicago Office of Inspector General advisory concerning gifts accepted on behalf of the city.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Jack from Georgia.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for convening this hearing, and I'd like to begin by offering some thoughts about our colleague from Texas, Congressman Sylvester Turner, who sadly just passed away, as some of you may know. Congressman Turner was a former two-term mayor of Houston, and as our witnesses can no doubt attest, being the mayor of a big city is not easy. Congressman Turner was a member of our freshman class, and his office is right next to mine in the Longworth House Office Building, and as such, I had an opportunity to walk with him to and from votes, found him to be an incredible gentleman with respect and courtesy. My colleagues across the aisle, particularly the freshmen, knew Congressman Turner better than I, so I certainly yield to them on this topic, but I wanted to at least mention my own thoughts for the record. Now, to the topic of today's hearing, I prepared for today's hearing by chatting with some of the mayors from my district, from those who represent just a few hundred to those who represent a few thousand, and I found a common theme of frustration. They, along with me and many other constituents I proudly represent in Georgia's 3rd Congressional District, want to know why policies are in place that benefit citizens of other countries at the expense of citizens of our own country. So if I could, Mayor Johnson, I'd like to start with you from Denver. I know Chairman Comer in his opening line of questioning discussed an ordinance passed by the Denver City Council in 2017, and I recognize you had just left the state Senate by then. But this ordinance prohibits city and county employees from assisting the enforcement of federal laws or inquiring about a person's immigration status. So I just have to ask, do you see a benefit in learning whether or not someone charged with a crime is a citizen of another country?
Thank you, Congressman. I do just want to say Mayor Turner hosted me in Houston when I first became mayor, so that's a powerful statement for me. Thank you for acknowledging it. Thank you, sir. We don't ask someone's status when we first contact them because it's not relevant to whatever charges we may be pursuing. They may list their country of origin on a document that we ask for. It does not indicate their immigration status. They could have legal status but be from another country.
Thank you. Mayor Johnson of Chicago, do you see a benefit in asking someone charged with a crime whether or not they're a citizen of our country?
The benefit of community safety is trust between local residents and law enforcement, and that relationship is critical to driving violence down. Under my leadership, violence has gone down in the city of Chicago.
And Mayor Johnson, if I can ask, have you ever disciplined, fired, or arrested law enforcement officers or correction officers if they notified ICE or other federal immigration officers of an illegal criminal alien in lockup or courts in violation of your sanctuary city policies? Have you ever disciplined, fired, or arrested a law enforcement officer that worked with ICE?
That is not, I don't believe that's under the jurisdiction of the mayor. I don't arrest people. Or
are there issued memos in which you direct Chicago officers from not assisting with enforcement in immigration law or helping ICE identify folks who may not be here illegally?
We do have documentation around making sure that the residents of the city of Chicago know their rights. That's important because it builds trust between law enforcement and community. By having that confidence and trust, people are more likely to come forward to report violent crime regardless of their immigration status.
Well, I have to submit to the record, Mr. Chairman, an article from News Nation Now, January 21st, 2025, in which it says Chicago police reminded they cannot cooperate with deportations. And if I may ask, Mayor, are there any memos? Thank you. Are there any memos that direct Chicago police to not cooperate with President Trump's deportation plans?
Well, so local law enforcement, we're not federal agents. So local law enforcement in the city of Chicago, they do not dub as federal agents.
But that having been said, from your mayoral office, have you ever issued memos to the police department instructing them not to cooperate with President Trump?
We remind people of what the Welcoming City Ordinance entails.
Would you submit to the committee any written documentation to the Chicago Police Department as it relates to this?
For the Welcoming City Ordinance, we're happy to make sure that this body has that ordinance, and that policy has been around for 40 years.
Thank you very much. Mayor Wu, back to my line of questioning with Mayor Johnston and Johnston. Do you believe that if you are asking someone who's been charged with a crime, whether or not they're here in our country legally, is that a proper and beneficial thing to do?
The laws of Massachusetts and the Boston Trust Act help Boston police solve crimes. We do not ask for immigration status because it allows for people to trust that when they call 911, when they have information that might help bring justice to another family, that they feel comfortable sharing that.
Thank you. And Mayor Adams, in closing, obviously you know police very well. Do you see a benefit in asking folks who've been charged with a crime whether or not they're a legal citizen?
Yes, I do.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming before our committee today. In the past 4 years, our nation has been invaded by millions and millions of people who have crossed our border. There's also millions of what's called known gotaways. These are people that our government has no idea where they came from, who they are, what they're going to do in our country. And many of these known gotaways could be criminals. They could be part of the narco cartels. They could be terrorists. We don't know who they are, and there's millions of them here. This country has also been the victim of fentanyl. This is a dangerous chemical that comes from China, is made into pressed pills in Mexico and Canada, and illegally distributed into our country by the cartels. On average, 200 to 300 Americans die every single day from fentanyl. Not die, they're murdered. They're murdered. Americans have also been victims of all types of illegal alien crimes. One family in particular, Laken Riley's family, I know them personally, and her death was absolutely horrific. Jose Ibarra entered the United States illegally on September 8th, 2022, near El Paso, Texas, with his wife and son. He was detained by the U.S. Border Patrol, but soon released due to overcrowding at detention facilities. After his release, he was transported to New York City, arriving around September 15, 2022. The following summer, he was arrested by New York Police Department and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child. And a driver's license violation. Before an immigration detainer could be issued, NYPD released Ibarra according to ICE. He later, after this release, moved to Athens, Georgia, where he was cited for a misdemeanor for shoplifting in 2023. This guy got arrested multiple times. He was stopped at the border, but he was continually released. Just a few months later, he brutally murdered Laken Riley. Mayor Adams, do you agree that Laken Riley would still be alive today if New York Police Department hadn't released Jose Ibarra after they arrested him?
Despicable crime. And as a former law enforcement officer, I respond to these crimes as the mayor as well. And I believe people like that should be held accountable. And I've advocated to stop this revolving door criminal justice system like him to come out and hurt innocent people. I wish we would have had the power to prevent that from happening.
Mayor Adams, will you continue sanctuary city policies in your city?
That policy is by law. I do not make the law. I must operate within the confines of the Constitution and the law.
Mayor Adams, will you advocate to get rid of sanctuary city policies in the city of New York?
I have made it clear on a portion of the sanctuary city policies that I believe we need to alter to prevent crimes like this from taking place.
Federal law under 8 U.S.C. 1324 makes it a crime to knowingly harbor and shield illegal aliens from detection, but your cities refuse to work with ICE detainers to help them find these criminals. I'll go one at a time. Mayor Adams, will you work with ICE in New York City, yes or no?
ICE is part of our criminal justice apparatus, and I will work with my city, state, and federal agencies to keep our cities safe, no matter who they are.
Mayor Johnson, will you work with ICE to protect your city?
We do work with ICE right now, Congresswoman. When they send us information about someone they would like access to, we send them notice when and where we will release them, and they can pick them up. We've done that 1,226 times. We will keep doing it.
Will you end sanctuary city policies?
We think the policies that we have right now allow us to work with ICE and to stop crime, and we'll keep doing that.
Mayor Johnson, will you work with ICE?
Our local law enforcement, Chicago Police Department, we work with federal agents on a variety of issues: drug trafficking, sex trafficking, getting guns off the street. And we will continue to work with federal agencies.
Will you stop harboring illegal aliens? Will you end sanctuary city policies?
So the city of Chicago, we do not harbor criminals. We do not harbor undocumented individuals. We comply with all laws.
Mayor Wu, will you work with ICE to protect Americans, legal Americans in your city, and end sanctuary policies?
The Boston Police work with ICE and federal agencies every single day on criminal matters and hold people who are committing crimes accountable.
Chairman, if I may, I'd like to enter for the record, according to the U.S. Constitution, giving aid and comfort to the enemies of the United States is an act of treason, and those that violate that should be
Without
be
objection,
held
so ordered. Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. LaHood from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would thank you for allowing me the opportunity to wave on to this important committee hearing today. I want to thank the witnesses. I represent a district right outside of Chicago, the excerpts of Chicago representing Rockford, Bloomington Normal, Peoria. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing. It's past time that individuals like the mayors we have before us come before us and explain to the American people why you continue to fail to enforce the laws of our country and allow illegal immigrants to flood into our communities. And it's clear to me that sanctuary city policies have significantly harmed our once great cities, which is very, very unfortunate. During my time as an elected official, I have strongly condemned the policy around sanctuary cities and the impact it's had on the state of Illinois. And I believe every sensible resident in Illinois knows These policies have further harmed the economy in Illinois, increased crime throughout our state, and endangered hardworking, law-abiding Illinois citizens. I want to turn my attention to you, Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. As I've watched you over the last 2 years that you've been mayor, I've been amazed at how tone deaf you have been and how oblivious you've been to the decline of Chicago. And I say that looking objectively at a number of things. Out of control crime in Chicago, people scared throughout neighborhoods on the west side, south side, north side. Morale has never been lower with law enforcement and CPD. Record number of police officers leaving the force. We have been hemorrhaging people out of the city of Chicago to the suburbs and elsewhere where they feel safe. Record number of businesses fleeing the city of Chicago. You couple that with record deficits. $2 billion deficit, the $2 billion deficit line of credit that you just had to take out this week. But you've spent $300 million of taxpayer money on illegal immigrants. And when I think about all of those things and I look at the strategy you continue to take, I mean, you're putting the interest of illegal immigrants above the interest of taxpayers in Chicago. But you continue to go down this path, and for the life of me, I can't understand it. So, Mayor, tell me why you continue to put the interest of illegal immigrants above taxpayers in Chicago.
Thank you for your representation. Violent crime is down in Chicago.
Well, let me reclaim my time. So I have a statistic here. Last year, Chicago had 573 murders.
Down.
Okay, but I want to compare that to the city of New York that is almost 2/3 the size of Chicago, 337 murders. So you had 573 murders in the city of Chicago, and you're 1/3 the size.
That's the lowest amount in 5 years under my leadership.
Okay, and you look at the level of violent criminals, sexual offenses, and drug dealers.
All violent crime is down in Chicago. In fact, just this year alone, Congressman, respectfully, there's a 20% decrease in violent crime in the city of Chicago.
I don't agree with your statistics.
Well, it's not a matter of whether or not you agree with it. It's a matter of whether it's a fact.
Let me reclaim my time, because I thought you might do this. And when I hear your answer, no one in this room should be surprised that your approval rating is 6.6%. Now, that's not just me saying this. Newsweek article, the least popular politician in America is Brandon Johnson. So, recent poll, M3 Strategies conducted this February 20th to 21st, showed that Mayor Johnson has a 6.6% approval rating, the worst showing of any political figure in the country's history. So I know you're talking about crime is down and things are great and, you know, the city's flush with money. None of that is backed up by the people in the city of Chicago. And so I'm wondering why you continue to go down this path of failed policies, destruction to the city of Chicago, people fleeing, law enforcement at an all-time low. And I'm wondering if you have any remorse for that here today and can tell us why you continue to double down on these failed policies.
We've invested $1.25 billion for housing and economic development, particularly for Black Chicago. It's the largest investment in the history of Chicago. 45% increase in youth employment, particularly for Black and brown children. I will not apologize for my investments in the people of Chicago. We have one of the most diverse economies, the top universities. As violence continues to go down and investments continue to go up, that is what's most important. We've opened up 3 mental health clinics, the first mayor since the first Black mayor in the history of Chicago.
I'm going to reclaim my
invest in
Mayor, I'm going to reclaim my time.
And public health, and I will continue to make those investments.
Your approval rating speaks volumes.
Well, the people approve of my investments, and I will continue to make those investments.
You're going the wrong direction. You need to reverse your policies on sanctuary cities. That's what the election results were last year. Crime and immigration were the #1 issue in the election, from Republicans, Democrats.
Chairman, the gentleman's time.
We could use your help to actually help us continue to invest in these programs that continue to drive violence down in the city of Chicago, and I'm willing to work with you, and I'm glad I had a chance to finally meet you for the first time.
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Stansbury from New Mexico.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always think that we should sage this room after these hearings because we hear a lot of crazy stuff in here. But let me start out by saying, mayors, welcome to our committee. thank you for serving your cities and your people. I have to say, as also an elected official, you have the hardest job in America. There is no job harder than being a mayor of a major city. So thank you for serving your constituents. And I want to take this opportunity to especially acknowledge Mayor Wu.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. On section 4AA, a law enforcement official and employment of the city department, agency, or commission shall not, and then A, inquire of an individual on his or her immigration status. Under Title 8, U.S. Code subsection 1373 stipulates that local governments cannot prohibit or restrict communication with federal immigration authorities regarding individuals' immigration status, so your enforcement of this act is in direct violation of that statute. Can you please confirm?
That is not
Thank you, ma'am. That's a U.S. code. I don't know about you, but U.S. code does not lie.
We do not ask about
Mayor
immigration
Johnson,
status, and that is what makes
Next
us safe as a
question,
city.
Mayor Johnston, you said in your testimony that the first step you took after illegal aliens arrived was to provide them with housing. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Folks that were on the streets freezing to death, we gave access to shelter. Yes, we did.
Thank you. Not to be rude here, but you have a good understanding of what the definition of harboring is, correct?
I do.
Okay. For those that might not, harboring means to knowingly or recklessly provide shelter or place to stay for an illegal alien. And according to Title 8 of U.S. Code subsection 1324, that is also a federal crime. Just to be clear, did you also say that you would be willing to go to jail to stop deportation efforts?
I did say that I'd be willing to stand up for all of our residents, and the context was that was the point at which the administration was threatening to deploy the U.S. military to streets of our cities to pull kids out of schools and churches.
Thank
so we
you.
were worried about that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record an article from CBS.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. In this, it says, Johnson said earlier this week that he's willing to use civil disobedience and, if necessary, going to jail to stop deportations. My final question would be for you, Mr. Mayor Johnson. Do you believe that Chicago's welcoming city ordinance encourages illegal aliens to enter the United States, specifically into Chicago? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So you don't believe that banning the transfer of individuals into ICE custody for the purpose of civil immigration enforcement encourages illegal immigration into Chicago? Or how about agencies, sorry, 1 second, or agents not being able to stop, arrest, or detain individuals based solely on their immigration status or administrative warrant?
So we comply with all laws, local, state, and federal.
To me, after this line of questioning, it's very clear that these policies that you have all implicated are active and alive and well in your cities, are in direct violation with U.S. Title 8 Code subsection 1324, and it is a federal offense. But you all speak about a broken immigration system, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border policies, which is something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally and then American citizens as well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing that in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that your policies are hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people. And that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And Chairman, I yield my time.